The last message from New Dawn arrived without urgency. It was tagged as routine, weather calibration data bundled with a short personal addendum meant for delayed delivery. The kind of thing that piled up in system buffers and waited patiently for someone to notice. The message never reached its destination. It never had the chance. At 4:17 station time, New Dawn went silent. Traffic control operators at Perseus Fringe noticed first. A missing ping. Then another. Automated systems flagged the lapse as a minor relay issue, nothing unusual for a frontier colony still expanding its infrastructure. A technician ran diagnostics, fingers moving out of habit more than concern. "Com repeaters aren't responding," she said after a moment. Her supervisor glanced over. "Reroute through the secondary net." "They're not answering either." That earned a pause. Screens updated. Telemetry graphs flattened into static lines. "How long since last transmission?" 17 minutes. No alarms sounded. No emergency beacons activated. There was simply nothing. By the second hour, the anomaly reached fleet operations. By the fifth, a reconnaissance corvette was redirected from patrol and ordered to investigate. Its crew launched assuming equipment failure or a solar flare. No one said the word disaster. The corvette dropped from transit at the edge of New Dawn's system and slowed. "Visual acquired," the sensor officer reported. "Planetary body intact. Orbit nominal." The captain leaned forward. "Reading population emissions?" The officer frowned. "Negative. No thermal output from habitation zones." "That's impossible." Confirming again. The ship drifted closer. With distance gone, the truth emerged in pieces. The planet's atmosphere was gone, scoured clean, not dispersed. The surface showed no craters, no scars of kinetic impact. Oceans lay still, exposed to vacuum. Cities were visible only as faint discolorations where structures had once stood. A probe launched toward the surface. Its signal dissolved mid-descent. The science officer swallowed. "Captain, this was a sterilization event." The word hung in the air. The report reached Admiral Elias Rourke 3 hours later. He read it alone in his office, standing beside the viewport, the stars reflected faintly against the glass. He did not sit. He did not rush. "Confirm civilian status," he said quietly into the recorder. The reply came moments later. "Confirmed. New Dawn was classified as a non-militarized research and settlement colony. No defense grid. No weapons platforms." Rourke closed his eyes. A second notification pulsed on the console. "Personal priority, auto-forwarded by Colonial Registry protocols." He hesitated, then accepted. His daughter's face filled the screen. She looked tired, amused, alive. "Dad, if this reaches you late, don't worry. Everything's fine," she said, smiling off camera at someone he couldn't see. "The kids love it here. I think we're finally home." The message ended. Rourke stood motionless long after the screen went dark. He did not shout. He did not strike the console. Grief pressed inward, contained by years of discipline, shaping itself into something heavier than anger. He activated fleet command channels. "Prepare a formal inquiry," he said. "Request an emergency Galactic Council session. Full transparency." "Yes, Admiral." The council chamber was vast and ancient, designed for species that had debated wars while humanity still painted on stone. Delegates filled third platforms, their forms varied, scaled, crystalline, gaseous, mechanical. Humanity's delegation occupied a modest arc near the lower ring. The incident briefing played without embellishment. Images of an empty world rotated slowly in the chamber. No one spoke during the presentation. High Executive Viral Exathon addressed the assembly when it ended. His voice resonated evenly, shaped by vocal cords grown for command. "The Aurelian Concord acknowledges responsibility," he said. "The colony known as New Dawn occupied a sector under strategic evaluation." Rourke rose. "Evaluation for what?" Exathon turned his faceted gaze toward him. "Future instability. There were no military assets," Rourke said. No provocations. Only civilians. Expansion itself is provocation, Exathuen replied. Unchecked growth leads to disorder. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others remained impassive. Rourke stepped forward. You erased over 200,000 people without warning. Yes. The word landed with precision. A counselor from a neutral polity spoke hesitantly. Perhaps, a formal censure. The matter is closed, Exathuen interrupted. The Concord acted within its mandate. Rourke's voice did not rise. What mandate allows the execution of children? Exathuen's expression remained unchanged. Biological age does not alter strategic outcomes. Silence followed. Long, heavy. Rourke looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings who measured morality against convenience. Humanity joined this council believing cooperation ensured survival, he said. If that belief is mistaken, we will adapt. Exathuen regarded him with what might have been amusement. Adaptation favors those who accept reality. Rourke inclined his head. Then we accept yours. The human delegation withdrew without ceremony. Back in United Human Systems space, the name registry for New Dawn opened to public access. Families uploaded records, messages, fragments of lives interrupted. Not cries for vengeance, just proof that those people had existed. A junior officer approached Rourke in the observation deck hours later. Sir, Command is asking for guidance. Rourke watched the stars slide past the viewport. Somewhere among them was a world that should have been full of light. They wanted us quiet, he said. Invisible. He turned, his expression steady, voice controlled. We won't be. Far across human space, shipyards stirred. Civilian docks adjusted schedules. Systems that had waited for generations began to wake, answering a call that had not yet been spoken aloud. The day after humanity walked out of the Galactic Council, no declarations were issued. No speeches filled the public channels. No banners of mourning were raised across the core worlds. To the outside galaxy, it appeared as if humans had accepted the verdict and retreated into silence, just another young species learning its place. Inside United Human Systems Command, that silence carried weight. Admiral Elias Rourke stood at the center of the strategy hall as representatives from civilian governance, fleet command, logistics, and colonial affairs took their seats. The room was sealed. No recordings. No external links. Only faces marked by fatigue and restrained grief. The Concord has issued a clarification, a diplomatic advisor said, breaking the quiet. They're framing New Dawn as a preventative enforcement action. Council response remains neutral. Neutral, a systems governor repeated, disbelief sharpening her tone. They erased a colony. And the council sanctioned it. Another added. By doing nothing. Rourke did not respond immediately. He waited until the murmurs settled, until attention returned to him. They expect compliance, he said. They believe fear will keep us contained. A fleet commodore folded his arms. And if we don't comply? Then we become an example, the diplomat replied grimly. Sanctions. Isolation. Possibly worse. A pause followed. Everyone in the room understood what worse meant. Rourke activated the central display. The image of New Dawn appeared, clean orbital path, empty surface, nothing left to bury. This is what restraint bought us, he said. A civilian counselor leaned forward. Admiral, no one here doubts the injustice. But retaliation risks extinction. The Concord commands fleets older than our civilization. Rourke met her gaze. They used one weapon. On one world. Because they believed we wouldn't respond. That doesn't mean we can match them, she said. No, Rourke agreed. It means we must outthink them. The room shifted. That word, outthink, changed the air. A logistics director cleared his throat. You're proposing mobilization. I'm proposing preparedness, Rourke replied. There's a difference. Preparedness looks like escalation to them, the diplomat warned. The Council will react. They already have, Rourke said. They chose inaction. Silence returned, heavier now. A younger officer spoke hesitantly. Sir, with respect. Even if we prepared, how would we assemble meaningful force without alerting the Concord? Rourke turned to him. By doing what we've always done. Which is? Building quietly. He gestured, and the display shifted to a web of trade routes, shipyards, civilian docks, exploration corridors. Human space isn't centralized, Rourke continued. It's fragmented. That's a weakness in diplomacy. It's an advantage in logistics. A fleet engineer's eyes narrowed as understanding dawned. Distributed assembly. Exactly, Rourke said. No single rally point. No visible surge. We don't move as an army. We move as an economy. A governor shook his head slowly. That scale of refit would require civilian cooperation. Rourke didn't hesitate. They'll give it. How can you be so sure? Rourke touched the console, and names began to scroll, thousands at first, then tens of thousands. Those are the dead, he said. And these, the list shifted to incoming civilian messages, are the living. Messages filled the screen. Short. Unpolished. Honest. Take my freighter. Refit my hauler. I can weld. I can navigate. I lost family there. No slogans. No demands. Just offers. They're already mobilizing, Rourke said quietly. They just need direction. The civilian counselor exhaled slowly. If we do this, there's no stepping back. I know, Rourke said. That's why we do it right. Across Concord territory, High Executive Viral Exathon reviewed intelligence summaries with mild impatience. Reports of human activity flickered across his display, shipyard throughput anomalies, trade reroutes, labor surges. Insignificant, he said, dismissing one alert. Economic recovery measures. A subordinate hesitated. Executor, the pattern is widespread. Exathon's gaze sharpened. Are weapons platforms being deployed? No. Fleet formations? Negative. Then they posture, Exathon concluded. Fear without teeth. Still, something lingered. Humans had withdrawn too cleanly. No protests. No desperation. Exathon had ruled long enough to recognize desperation. Back in human space, Rourke issued his first restricted directive. Activate continuity protocols, he said. The AI confirmed receipt. Dormant systems stirred. Blueprints archived for generations unlocked. Ship designs meant for worst-case scenarios, never expected to be built, entered production queues. Merchant hulls were stripped and reinforced. Exploration craft received armor plating. Civilian reactors were tuned beyond commercial limits. None of it looked like a navy yet. That was the point. In the strategy hall, a final vote was taken. It was unanimous. The diplomat lingered as others departed. The council will notice eventually. Yes, Rourke said. And when they do? Rourke's voice was steady. They'll realize restraint was never weakness. It was patience. The diplomat studied him. And if they strike first? Rourke looked back to the stars beyond the viewport. Then they confirm what New Dawn already taught us. What's that? That survival isn't granted by councils, he said. It's enforced. Far from human space, Concord sensors began flagging irregular mass fluctuations, too scattered to define, too consistent to ignore. Exathon stared at the data longer than before. For the first time since New Dawn, doubt crept in. Humanity had gone quiet. And the galaxy had misread the sound. The first ship was altered in a civilian dry dock that had never hosted a weapon. It had hauled grain across 3 systems for almost 20 years, its hull scarred by micrometeors and careless dock crews. The refit didn't change its name or registry. It simply made it harder to kill. Reinforced plating replaced decorative paneling. Cargo bays were reconfigured to house modular launch racks. Navigation software received encrypted upgrades that no commercial authority had clearance to inspect. One ship became 10. 10 became hundreds. No announcement accompanied the work. Schedules shifted quietly. Contracts changed hands without explanation. In shipyards across human space, night cycles lengthened as volunteers arrived after their shifts, sleeves rolled up, hands steady. They worked without banners or speeches. Most didn't speak at all. Admiral Elias Rourke moved between systems aboard an unmarked command vessel, reviewing progress in person. He didn't give stirring addresses. He asked questions. He listened. He approved designs with a nod and rejected others with a brief shake of his head. Efficiency over spectacle, he reminded one engineering team. We can push output another 12%, a lead technician said. But it increases failure risk. Rourke considered the projection. 12% doesn't matter if the ship doesn't come home, he replied. Dial it back. The technician smiled faintly. Understood, sir. Fleet Command avoided centralized assembly. Instead, formations were simulated across hundreds of dispersed nodes. Artificial intelligences trained alongside human officers, learning coordination without revealing intent. Navigation charts layered civilian routes over potential combat vectors, disguising preparation as commerce. In public channels, life continued. Markets fluctuated. Entertainment feeds updated. To most citizens, nothing appeared different, except the waiting lists. Every enlistment center reported overflow. A young woman stood outside a recruitment office on Mars, hands clasped behind her back, eyes fixed on the closed doors. A sergeant stepped out, scanning the crowd. We're full, he said. Come back tomorrow. She shook her head. I can fly. Short range. Atmospheric and orbital. We'll call you. My brother was on New Dawn, she said quietly. You won't need to. He studied her for a moment, then stepped aside. Next. Across the Perseus fringe, High Executive Viral Exathon reviewed fresh intelligence. The anomalies had multiplied, shipyard output exceeding trade demand, unusual resource allocations, encrypted civilian traffic spikes. Still no fleet movements? Exathon asked. No formal formations, the analyst replied. No weapons tests. No public military drills. Exathon tapped a claw against the console. They're hiding behind decentralization. Yes, Executor. Arrogant, Exathon said. They mistake invisibility for strategy. Yet he ordered additional monitoring. Not because he feared humanity, but because uncertainty offended him. Back in human space, the first full-scale simulation ran. Rourke stood on the command deck as holographic stars filled the room. Thousands of simulated vessels maneuvered in layered patterns, overlapping fields of fire, staggered retreat paths, adaptive targeting protocols. A tactical officer glanced up. Admiral, this many ships responding to a single command node. Latency could cripple us. Rourke shook his head. There is no single node. He gestured, and the display fractured into autonomous clusters. Each group can operate independently, he said. Lose one, the rest adjust. And civilian crews? The officer asked. They won't hold under pressure. They will, Rourke said calmly. Because they're not here for glory. The simulation ended. The room remained silent. How many? Someone asked. Rourke didn't answer immediately. He looked at the final tally, at the number that had grown steadily over weeks. 298,000, he said. And counting. No one cheered. Messages continued to arrive, short, direct, unadorned. Take my ship. Use my yard. I don't need it back. A retired freighter captain stood on a platform overlooking his vessel as it was stripped and rebuilt. A dock worker approached him. You sure? She asked. Once it goes, it won't be the same. He nodded. Neither will we if it doesn't. The first completed formation assembled far from any charted route, engines idling, hulls dark. There was no fanfare, no broadcast. Just ships waiting. Rourke addressed them once. His image appeared on command displays across thousands of decks. He wore no ceremonial uniform, only the insignia of his rank. "We are not here to punish," he said. "We are here to prevent repetition." He paused, letting the words settle. "You will not fire unless ordered. You will not strike civilian targets. You will protect each other, and you will come home if you can. A beat. If you cannot," he continued, voice steady, "know that you were not forgotten before this began." The channel closed. When the final readiness report arrived, Rourke authorized the next phase. "Set rally vectors," he ordered. "Staggered departure. No signatures." "Yes, Admiral." Across the galaxy, Concord sensors detected something new, not movement, but absence. Trade routes once busy with human traffic thinned. Ships vanished into gaps between known lanes, slipping beyond predictive models. Exathrin stared at the latest chart, irritation edging toward concern. "They're not dispersing," he murmured. "They're aligning." "Executor?" an aide asked. Exathrin straightened. "Increase deep space scans. Focus on gravitational anomalies." "Yes, Executor." By the time the first human fleet elements entered hyperspace, the Concord was already behind. In the quiet between stars, hundreds of thousands of vessels accelerated together, their drives harmonized, their crews focused. No banners flew. No music played. Only purpose moved with them. And for the first time since New Dawn vanished, the galaxy began to feel something it hadn't expected from humanity. Momentum. The first alert reached the Aurelian Concord as a distortion, not a warning. Deep space sensors registered gravitational ripples where nothing should have been moving. At first, analysts dismissed the readings as background noise, echoes from stellar drift or sensor fatigue. Then the ripples multiplied, layered and rhythmic, spreading across multiple systems at once. An officer broke protocol and spoke without being acknowledged. "Executor, this isn't a natural pattern." High Executor Viral Exathoin rose slowly from his seat, towering above the command dais. "Clarify." The display expanded, filling the chamber with cascading data. Mass signatures resolved from static into shapes, thousands, then tens of thousands, emerging from hyperspace in staggered waves. Exathoin's mandibles tightened. "How many?" The officer hesitated. We don't have an upper bound." Silence swallowed the room. Across Concord territory, alarms began to cascade. Systems designed to monitor rival empires strained under the sudden load. Formation after formation appeared, dark against the stars, engines cold, weapons silent. "They're not attacking," an aide said, confused. "They're holding position." Exathoin stared at the growing map. "They're letting us see them." Human vessels filled the void in layered depth, not clustered but interlocked, each group positioned with deliberate spacing. No banners. No broadcasts. Just presence, so vast it bent perception. A junior strategist whispered, "By the architects." Exathoin activated long-range channels. "Open a council priority link. All members." Static answered him. One by one, signals dropped. The sane powers that had dismissed humanity now severed contact, unwilling to be seen standing beside the Concord. For the first time in centuries, Exathoin felt isolation. A single transmission cut through the noise. "This is Admiral Elias Rourke of the United Human Systems." The channel resolved into a human figure, standing against a dark backdrop. Behind him, names scrolled in steady lines, no images, no embellishment. "These are the people of New Dawn," Rourke said. His voice carried across every frequency, calm and unforced. "They were not soldiers. They were not threats." Exathoin leaned forward. "You are trespassing in sovereign space." Rourke inclined his head slightly. "You erase sovereign lives." The scrolling continued. "We are not here for conquest," Rourke went on. "We are here to establish a boundary you assumed did not exist." Exathoin's eyes hardened. "You believe numbers grant you authority?" "No," Rourke replied. "Responsibility does." The channel closed. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then human fleets moved. Not as a charge, but as a coordinated shift, vectors changing in harmony, formations tightening. Precision strikes flared across Concord space, each one calculated, restrained. Shipyards, command relays, weapons platforms, nothing civilian, nothing random. Concord defenses fired in panic. Their responses scattered, overlapping, inefficient. They had been built to intimidate, not to endure. Sector 9 is down. We've lost orbital control over Vesh Prime. They're bypassing population centers. Why aren't they? Exathon slammed a claw against the console. Focus fire! Break their coordination! But there was nothing to break. Human formations adapted instantly, redistributing pressure, shielding damaged units without retreat. Where one ship fell, 3 adjusted. Where Concord fire concentrated, humans flowed around it like water finding cracks. On a human destroyer's bridge, a navigation officer called out. Port flank absorbing heat. Reroute power, the captain said. Hold position. Sir, we can't. We hold, the captain repeated. The shield stabilized. Across the battle space, the Concord's advantage dissolved, not through brute force, but through discipline. Human ships disengaged as soon as objectives were neutralized, leaving no room for counterattack. Within hours, Concord command networks lay silent. Exathon watched the collapse in disbelief. They're not exterminating us, he murmured. They're dismantling us. A final channel opened. Rourke appeared again, the list of names behind him now complete. This ends now, he said. Stand down your fleets. Deactivate sterilization assets. Submit to independent oversight. Exathon's voice was low. And if we refuse? Rourke met his gaze. Then we proceed system by system until there is nothing left for you to command. For the first time, Exathon understood the error, not in strategy, but in assumption. He had mistaken restraint for fragility. He had believed mercy was absence of will. He signaled surrender. The guns fell silent. In the days that followed, the galaxy adjusted. Council protocols were rewritten under human oversight. Sterilization weapons were dismantled. Borders were redrawn with an unspoken understanding. Human fleets withdrew as they had arrived, methodical, quiet, complete. At the edge of human space, a memorial orbited where new dawn had once shone. Rourke stood before it alone, watching reflected starlight ripple across engraved names. A junior officer approached, careful not to intrude. Sir, the Council has formally recognized human autonomous defense rights. Rourke nodded. Good. And the Concord? They'll remember, he said. The officer hesitated. Was it worth it? Rourke looked at the names, at the proof that Liv's race still mattered. We didn't come to be feared, he said softly. We came to be counted. Beyond the memorial, human ships passed quietly through the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as something the galaxy would never again overlook.